to the Panama Canal up high up here, for which I traveled at 3,000 miles in the 21 days, running wing and wing with the sail out on one side, the sail out on the other, and just running with the current, with the wind, with the sea, and it was just a beautiful, one of the most glorious sails that a person who enjoys sailing could ever have. And at that point I entered the Panama Canal, and I have a few pictures here of entering the Panama Canal at Balboa, and I am anchored here. This is my boat, showing a picture of a Swan, a boat called the Swan, just in front of me, a friend boat, people that I knew from the SSCA, and a ship going up the river to enter the locks in the canal. This was the pilot who came on board and assisted us to travel through the canal. And here we are rafted with another boat, and we're moving up to raft with the boat that's up ahead of us here and enter the first lock of the Panama Canal, of which there are 3 locks to go up to the Gatun Lake, which is a freshwater lake. And here we are all rafted up and entering into the locks. Well, these are the big heavy doors here that swing closed once you get in, and there's another boat up in front of us. And here was one of my line handlers, people that come on board and help us with the lines. We're swimming and enjoying a 2-hour delay in Gatun Lake, up at the near the Atlantic locks. And we go in the locks first, and the big ship comes right in behind us, and then we go down together. And we're up quite close to the locks. You can see the man up here with one of our lines going to this side, and then from the other boat a line going to the other side. And we go up right close to this lock door, and then the water's let out and we go out into the Atlantic. And I went from there. From here I cruised around through the Panama Canal down to the San Blas Islands, Portobello, and all of this the gold trail of the early days of the Panama days. And after leaving there, I went over to my favorite port called Cartagena in Colombia. And I spent a month there waiting for the weather and the hurricane season to blow away up north in the Caribbean. And after I left Cartagena, I went out to sea, and I came up close to Cabo Vela and then stood out to sea. And right out in here, I ran in to this huge Navy warship, one of our missiles, of which, according to the radio, they don't give it a name. They say that this is a U.S. American naval warship. And they are standing by out here with all these electronics and missiles and all of their equipment ready to take on whoever might come. But it still took them 4 hours to get that ship over to where I was, so that they could put their little dinghy in the water and board my boat, because they couldn't get the outboard motor started. So that was quite a delay. And then 2 more times coming up through this area, I was approached by the warships, and then I had a flyby, a bomber ship, a Coast Guard bomber airplane flew over the boat and came back and contacted me by radio to identify myself, to know who I was. And so now that I've had, and one day it was a helicopter was flown over, a gunship that was flown over my boat and contacted me and identified myself. And so this gave me a helicopter and a bomber and 3 warships. And when I got up next to near Puerto Rico, why, out came a Coast Guard cutter, and I told him to take it back because I wanted a submarine. I'd already had all these other things, and I just didn't want to bother with a little cutter coming out to bother me. But I then got back in to St. Croix and terminated the voyage. Approximately 2.5 years was spent in this trip, and a total of 13,250 nautical miles were logged during this trip around South America, and came back up, and the boat now is back at Cartagena, and it's being taken care of while I came out here to visit with you people. The Chiloe, which is located right in here that I spoke about, but has quite an agriculture, fishing, and art scenery. These are pictures of the church, of the ball field, fishing villages, the Indian market for art and crafts, and fishing, local fishing boats. They do a lot of clam fishing in that area. And then just adjacent to that is the major city of Puerto Montt, which is the most southern city, 2 photographs of it, the major city of, most southern city of any size of southern Chile. And this serves the entire southern section of Chile. And then the place where it rains so heavy on us, this is up the river in Valdivia, as I showed you in this place up to the north. And this is a picture of some of the little sections of town. I bought the postcards because everything was there. It was just soaking, roaring down rain, and so I never did take any pictures there. We just had a picture of that. And then just to prove that my boat is a very famous boat, I show you here Nordica in front of the cathedral in Majorca, the island of in Las Palmas, and the island of Majorca in the Mediterranean. When I was over there 4 or 5 years prior to this trip, I went over to the Mediterranean and spent a year or so over there. And my picture was taken of the boat, and it was turned in to a postcard. And but so as you can see on the back, this was a postcard that was mailed over in Spain from the Palmas de Majorca, and it was a postcard, and a friend found a postcard in a shop and realized that it was my boat, and wrote this and bought the postcard and mailed it over to us from Europe, just to let us know that we were a very famous boat on a postcard. So that's my one claim to fame. If you haven't about the trip or any particular points you'd like to discuss, I would be very happy to discuss my limited knowledge of all of these places where I've been and the things that I've done. And with that, I will thank you for your attention. And that's about all I can say for now. Thank you.